My name is David Kline, and I am a teaching associate professor in the Religious Studies department. The religious climate in America in the decade of the 1920s, the biggest context is probably the end of the First World War. This was a horrific experience for so many Americans, and this really leads a lot of Americans to look to religion as a force of grounding, a source of comfort, a source of meaning in a world that has essentially just blown itself up. So religion is kind of recentering itself in American culture at the time. Christianity is the dominant religion in America as far as numbers go, in particular Protestant Christianity. So many Christians are going back to what one group will call the fundamentals. So this is the fundamentalists, which are a very, very conservative group that look to the Bible as a kind of ultimate source of authority, of meaning and truth. And then you have other Christian groups that are very interested in reconciling Christianity with the modern world. By the time we get to 1925, modernity has arrived in full force. We are now living in a very modern society. Science has essentially overtaken theology as the metric or the standard of fact value or of truth. And this worries and this scares a lot of people. New methodologies in the academic discipline of history, of anthropology, these things are providing challenges to traditional notions of the Bible, particularly that the Bible is a reliable historical document. Scientific perspectives, new literary and sociological and anthropological perspectives are challenging these notions, and this has produced a profound tension. And so this tension relates to a world that had gone through so many profound shifts over the last decade that is really posing a question to religious folks. Will religion embrace modernity? Will it embrace science? And the fact is that in the 1920s, Christianity, and in particular Protestant Christianity, held an oversized influence in terms of cultural perspectives as well as perspectives of governing authorities. In the Scopes Monkey trial, Clarence Darrow represents this idea of a kind of progressive religious perspective, one that embraces the new knowledges of science, one that is okay with changing its reading of the Bible to align with these new forms of knowledge and so forth. William Jennings Bryan, on the other hand, is a great traditionalist, conservative. He takes the Bible as a literal document, meaning that what the Bible says in its literal sense is true, and that human beings ought accept that without question. He's not only seen the effects of the First World War and the violence that has wrought, but he's seen the way, in terms of his perception, that the new science of evolution seemingly suggests that there is no larger meaning to human life, that we are simply an accident of the natural process of things. Following the Scopes Monkey trial, American Protestant Christianity in particular continues to flourish and continues to break off into new forms, new denominations, new religious movements, and so on. And the Scopes Monkey trial certainly represents a kind of key moment in which a more liberal, more progressive form of Christianity in America is really taking shape. These are important traditions that relate to Clarence Darrow's position very closely, that represent that kind of embrace of progressive Christianity that isn't afraid to embrace science, embrace the reading of the Bible that's not literal, but say metaphorical, or a reading of the Bible that has no problem with aligning it with the theory of evolution or other scientific notions of fact value or truth. And then you have a lot of conservative Protestant Christianity that also kind of breaks off from this. And of course, the American South is the more conservative cultural site for this kind of religion, but you get a wide array of different religious traditions that are each interpreting the issues of Scopes in their own ways. Religion in America has always represented an extraordinarily wide range of ideological positions, of understandings of the Bible, of understandings of history, and that remains the fact following the Scopes trial as well. In Tennessee, it remains illegal to teach the theory of evolution, or at least to teach theories of human origins that contradict the Genesis narrative. That remains illegal up until the 1960s, at 1967, when it's finally overturned. But in between 1925 and 1967, you get a lot of kind of ambivalence, right, towards the law itself. But Tennessee, even though Tennessee is a conservative culture, a conservative state, like America, like American religion, Tennessee itself has an extraordinarily wide range of ideological perspectives, relationships to the Bible, and so forth. And that was reflected in the subsequent history of Scopes itself.